Hello, my name is Eleanor Lozano, and today I'm going to be presenting on a piece of architecture I really like, which is the shopping mall for various reasons. We're just going to go to sharing my screen. Um, Hopefully, that little window can just not be a problem, cannot be an issue. So we're going to set a 10-minute timer for myself just to make sure that I have a decent time. The window is kind of blocking my there we go, my tabs. Oh, alrighty. So this is the Southdale Shopping Center specifically, the before and after, and you'll find out what that means. So there's this quite a unique, perhaps a unique disconnect between the architecture, the designer for the mall, and the people who had developed the area and the society that the building was designed in. So Victor Gruen's goals was mainly to create what we'll call like a third home. And this was based off of the idea of there being three main places that person is at all times. There was the home one, which is your house. It's the place you live in, the place you sleep and do all your living in. And then there's home two, which is your work where you spend a lot of time um like working to live. And then home three is supposed to be a place where the local community can meet up, can connect with each other. And this third home is it's largely missing in the US because of the urban sprawl, and that being caused by unregulated businesses. So the urban sprawl, to explain now, is what causes such like separation in our community, what divides us geographically. Um, and this is caused by a bit of sprawl happening, and then there's increased use of automobiles. In the US, it's for a few reasons why we use automobiles, but a big part of it is because we have to get around here. Like Tucson is very unfriendly to public transportation, and you have to use cars to get almost anywhere. And because of this increased use of automobiles, um, there's not as much need or want for public transportation. It's just more reliable to use your cars. And then what happens after that is that it really starts to snowball from here. The separation of urban functions, because there's already beginning a separation, and because people already own their own cars to go anywhere. Well, then businesses are like, well, I could just build my business anywhere, and people can go to it if I want this like separate space, or if I want to go here or there, just or if the increase of roads like spreads me out further, even that I didn't establish this urban sprawl, but I have to cooperate with it, and it's the expansion of it, which again and you creates increased road surfaces and creates an even bigger sprawl, and it just goes in this circle, this cycle that um that makes the problem. And the and what results kind of is the suburban labyrinth, is that everything you need in order to live, in order to be a part of society, is all separated out, and it's a nightmare to go through. I think that's what Tucson will tell you too, especially with how how terrible the roads can be with constant needs for fix-ups, and then it causes clogging and all that. So he was trying to get rid of that and unite and foster local communities that had been put to the sideline for businesses. Meanwhile, the United States goals, or what was allowed and encouraged by law, was prioritizing commercialization over the citizen, and the business, as long as you could get to them reasonably, they're fine with urban sprawl. They're fine with the suburban labyrinth, and even like helps the car companies to have this kind of kind of cycle. So this kind of system, and um, and so from that, any building that you'll see here, most likely it's commercially viable somehow, right? Well, the shopping mall, developers saw it as a way to to have this plan be an area for local communities to shop at mass. So developers had turned it from something that was supposed to enclose a community and create it into just like a place to shop. The Victor Groom was going to have all these, like all the office centers, the culture center, like on the picture on the bottom left, have these all like connected together. And that's not what happened, because the United States was more concerned about profit and advancing at the time advertisement techniques to them. And to clarify on this more, it's like, well, what then why in this capitalist society is Victor Gruen doing this? Why is he creating the mall here? Well, the mall was created around the time of like just just after World War II, right? Gruen did not even plan to come here. He had to escape from here, escape from the Nazi regime, coming from like Vienna, Austria, what would be taken over by Nazi Germany, and he was certainly not in the right social position to stay there. He um, he believed socialism as the best economic system. He took greatly into what um, the the people at school taught him about what the society that he lived in, and seeing the suburban labyrinth and everything else. He's like, yeah, this is the best way. The US's architectural and road system is a mess. And he despised businesses who did not hold themselves responsible to the public, who did not who put down this fostering of the community, who separated people just for profit. And as soon as he knew it was safe, as soon as soon as he created a mall and regretted it, he went back to Vienna in 1968. He didn't want to stay here, after what what developers had turned his mall into, what American society had encouraged. So, did he have a choice, especially with this being during the Cold War, of creating a mall? Did he have a choice to change these plans? Not really debatably. Like being a man who escaped to America and then having the Red Scare, to where socialism was seen as the domino system to communism, and the Red Scare, the due to McCarthyism, people lost their lives, they lost their reputations, they never came back from it. And he couldn't risk that. He couldn't risk that, so he couldn't change what was happening. And this is this results in what was the practical results apart from Garon's ideal completely. So it creates the term fitting of the shopping mall because everything about what was going to be communally supported was gutted for the shopping part of it. Um, though it would be like debatable whether, at least at this time, under the circumstances, whether Gurn's plan would be realistic or not, because building a whole community, like series of buildings to foster a whole community. I mean, this, oh, yeah, we're gonna ignore that, kids. I'm not even, look, okay. I'm sorry, y'all. You are in here like you're stuck with me now, okay? So I'll try to pick up the pace a little bit, but the practical result was that we don't know if it could have been possible, you know. Walt Disney tried to do this sort of thing too, and he also couldn't carry it out through because he died. Um, and just with the shopping mall, it's so expensive to do it. So we don't know whether or not realistically Bruin could have done this, you know. And so architect like technical wise, there was the marks of like modern art, the open floor plans, the wide use of window panes, the minimal amount of art pieces that also served a function, and the balance between nature and what is artificial. So having like plants around the area because it was believed that we shouldn't let everything be artificial. We should bring in what is natural, what is traditional, what is established. And it was like an ideological thing that we shouldn't change ourselves completely as a society. We can experiment with new things, but we shouldn't be like changing ourselves completely. We should keep what is good about tradition. Um, oh, yeah, excuse me. And the mall as it is not sustainable environmentally excuse me, on this level because it's it's just a huge building with like huge parking lots surrounding it. The vegetation and our particular designs currently does not have a lot of vegetation for it. And the vegetation, it's not included out of environmental concern. It was ideological about society and economically because well it's just like a place to shop, there's not a whole lot of substance behind it. And so then we get to the future or the contemporary death, and this turned out probably as about expected for a business, probably. um is that malls are starting to decrease in popularity. The competition between malls and their competition between malls and like online shopping. Online shopping has gotten even stronger. Other places to shop, like retail buildings, have gotten even stronger. And malls are currently they're not keeping up with it. They're, however, this being said, whether or not it's malls are in their death is debatable. People have measured this in like varied ways with varied results. It's kind of debatable as to what constitutes a mall's death, whether malls are dying en masse. There is a certain truth to it that malls are are dying somewhat. They're decreasing in popularity, but their total death is something that's debatable. Although, COVID-19 has helped with that, because the malls architecturally encourage people to gather together to shop, but gather together in person. um COVID-19 has just destroyed these malls somewhat. They've destroyed them for a couple of years now. Um and the most interesting thing is that even though we can say like whether their death is debatable or not, people who grew up with malls, they already feel like it's some kind of past memory, whether it's like love or hated, because some people are like, well, this is like the most horrible like form of capitalism. It's just a place to shop, it's junk, and other people remember it fondly. But it's not dead yet, but it feels like it's dead to some people. Um, when malls first experienced their slowdowns, at first the solution was more technology. So like VR, other virtual activities, and this was just a growing popularity of these kinds of technologies, the kinds of possibilities that was out there. Um, but it turns out to not be so effective. And now some malls are going so much farther than that. And guess what? Hey, they're including Victor Ruin's plans again. It's like he originally intended. Whoa, that's crazy, guys. So yeah, they start including not only referencing, but including a lot of Ruin's original plans for the Southdale Mall. Um, they started putting in like apartments, I mean they're the tamer ones. They only start including apartments and more activity centers like sports, and wanting to include like luxury brands, which can just like gentrify the place, if that's the correct word for it. But anyways, but they're still referencing Gruen's original plans. They're not the most radical at it, and we'll see in a couple decades as to whether they're moving fast enough or not. But um as the Southdale Mall has also been suffering. Um but well, I mean we'll see, but this is ironic, right? Um So then we get to the special feelings that some people can get from malls. This is specifically in a more like fond kind of way, a feeling of fondness. So um, first we have our feeling of liminal, a feeling of transcendence or uncanniness, nostalgia, highlighted by transitionary places. And I mean, malls are just that, right? They mark a time period in our consumeristic minds of between online shopping and in-person shopping, of between the 80s and the early 2000s in the present day and after COVID-19. Um, they may not like, and you're not even, this is also highlighted by a place that's like you're not supposed to stay in. You go there to shop, and when you're done shopping you leave to come back and shop again. It's both transitionary and within time period, people's lives, and the um and the like the purpose of it to just to shop there for a little while. Um, and this feeling of liminality can be so powerful among people that eventually it becomes into a feeling that is not identified in English, but is identified in Japanese, mono no aware. So it's the liminalness. Here, let me move it all the way so you can guys, so y'all can see it. If this is blocking it, but Mono no aware is liminal, resolved into a new mentality, bittersweet melancholy for fleetingness. So it's a very appreciation and sadness that things aren't made to last. Life, many things, if not everything, life, they don't last. And that is like the resolution of liminalness. It's not just this feeling of nostalgia and this feeling of like, it's this feeling of remembrance. This is feeling of I recognize where this feeling is coming from, um, and how it's affecting me. Where liminal's just like, oh, I get a feeling from it, you know. Mono no aware is the resolution of knowing where it comes from and appreciating it. Um, which is again, it's not a word recognized in English, but perhaps it should be for us to resolve this feeling. Um, Guys, we're not going to go that much to a argumentative um one, and oh, there we go, we got it. We switched the slide. Um, so the So this just to say is that communities have been created inside walls. That being said, that communities have been created inside of malls despite the harsh conditions of the capitalized area, in spite of what advertisers and businesses want this area to be. Um, this being said, hating malls are justified. Hating the idea of malls is justified. Because and they may be good for us. They may be good for us to be encouraged because I mean, yeah, they were like a different ideal. It would have been great to find out if it was possible or not, but as they are, they're just places to shop. They are hostile. The architecture just leads into stores. Um, the seating there is sort of few and far between. It's really just a place to take a break before you get up again and to go walk around some more. And yeah, they're hostile to anything else. I mean, the Southdale Mall had like this performative um stage, right? That I showed in a previous picture. Let's see if I can get to it. Oh, yes, right on this like lower right picture, but it was a fashion show. It was to encourage the its purpose. However, again, that being said, yet again, everyone has a right to fond memories because people have have fought against it and its original like kind of passive aggressive purpose, and have put in communal, emotional, and therefore personal value in the mall and love into it, which there was a lack of by both its creators and its developers. Um, and um I guess not necessarily to just really endlessly diss the developers because Victor Gruen, um probably because of the conditions of the Cold War, had still greatly contributed to um, optimizing the shopping part of it. The shopping would start to encapsulate. Um, but yeah, there's the community has made it into something that's worthy of more than just going through and have been like, oh, well, malls are now an aesthetic. Malls are now something that we fondly remember. And we put it in this this online thread for like liminal spaces because we remember this. And we remember good things from it for a lot of it. So um yeah, so that's the Southdale Mall. No, I don't have any. I know I don't have any like plans on this. We'll get to that right now. But here's just like in case the picture was blocking it. Here's the mall as it is. You can see the pathways that leads up the stairs to the second floor shops and the performance stage. And yeah, this is a bird cage. All right, this is like part of the ideological thing is that we'll have birds in here. We'll have birds in the mall, which is crazy to think about. I don't think most malls have like, I mean, plants are few and far between, but like bird cages, I don't think that's a thing we have anymore. So but the Southdale Mall has it, or at least had it. And so right now we'll get into here. So here's the floor plans for the Southdale Mall. And here's the different retail stores like hardware, furniture. Well, that's not what they're called. I don't think that's just, I think that's just what the purpose of them is. Except for like the Donaldsons, the supermarket, the Dayton's, unless supermarket is also not. Uh, look, Woolworth. That is that's probably a brand name. Um, but yeah, you can tell how this is how the open floor plans really optimize it for its purpose that there's only like entrances and walls where it's separating stores and the bathroom I believe is here if I remembered my drafting right. Um and yeah, this is the like quite literally there is um on the architecture made out of tile and steel and glass. It's it's really kind of it says it states itself very plainly. It's not trying to hide anything. Um, so right now I know everything else. We're gonna get to everything else right now. So um Nosos is normal. Let me explain. In my freshman year, I had a paper for um for one of the past classes. I said to Dr. Barr, I'm like, hey, I think that Nosos could be considered the first shopping mall. Because like I mean I know it's a palace, but like I mean it had like the open window shopping and the where it's full of the containers and people were encouraged to come and shop around. Um, but okay, that was a bad take. I apologize for that one, y'all. Um, Nosos is definitely could not be classified as a mall. It is it is not to diss the Southdale Center or any other shopping mall, but it's kind of more than a place for it's a lot more than a place for retail. Um and Nosos is a palace, a trading center, a city, a the funerary place. It is a place where they buried people, and I'm like, yeah, this is a mall. So, the Knossos was a place where not only the king was, but like like leaders from all over the area, the geographical area, a good part of it. Um, oh, outside of it, that would go like, for example, Greece and no, I'm totally not forgetting all the rest of the countries right now. Just know it's in a wide geographical area in Europe. Um, and uh, and so they would come to the down the Royal Road um to the oh yeah, here's the Royal Road down to um the throne room or wherever else they needed to meet, and they would discuss politics, they would discuss trade, um they would this is a place for like important officials to meet up and royals to meet up and to discuss the diplomatic relations. And 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 it was quite literally a place to where when Greece overtook it, it's like, yeah, let me take you and let me make you a city state because you're that important. So it was yeah, so Gnosis is a lot of different things. It is too many different things to be considered a mall. It may be structured in some places that we could consider it like maybe having the same architectural ideas like window shopping and in art that accentuates its like desirability and aesthetics. Um as per the Gruen effect says, it's like if something looks nice and you see in a large quantity, then customers will be more encouraged to buy from it. And yeah, that was true in there, but like it was a lot of other things. And it's just, yeah. So, um, I believe that is all I had for you. So yeah, I was here's the going over all the figures. Here's the vicious cycle. What as Victor Grurin called it, the urban sprawl. So it's like the sprawl, the increased use of automobiles, decreased use of public transportation, separation of urban functions, increased road surfaces. Then the suburban labyrinth, which we all live with, unfortunately. Um, is our home one or home two and our lack of home three, and the everything else that we would need or want to go to being separated out. Um, and then this I actually got from a TED video. It is the visual representation of the Cold War. So the bear is supposed to represent the threat of the USSR, the political threat of communism, and how especially McCarthyism had way overreacted to it, had been um, baselessly accusing people of being communists and um and ruining people, probably why we're gonna couldn't didn't have a choice and was the most was the most capitalist person that could ever capitalist, had his portfolio full of like retail and stuff. Then we have the pictures of the Southdale Center, and um then we have the effects of COVID-19, the kind of liminal aesthetic you can get and want to know where that you can get with these kinds of empty photos, empty settings. And then here, so that was just a quick brush over the figures. So while I was mainly talking about the Southdale Center, um, this did kind of turn more generalized, kind of, because the Southdale Center was never meant to be by itself. Um, it was it was meant for like a bigger construction product if that had succeeded. Well, it did. It did by the time it was created. They popped up even in Europe. The poor man Ruin had to face the thing he hated in Europe. Um, so yeah, and yep, that is all it. Yes, thank you for coming to my presentation. Here is my bibliography, so you know I'm not stealing. Alrighty, so yeah, so this is the presentation. Thank you for coming to my class, Art History 324. Yeah, yeah, no, totally. It's the class I'm hosting.